and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to some combo tutorials and test hands, where this time I'm going to be walking you through how to play Melodious. Now, this is a brand new deck that I've literally picked up a couple of weeks ago, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I obviously brought it to locals for the very first time 2 weeks ago. And obviously there was no locals last weekend due to nationals, because our head judge was up judging that event, and a few of our players did go. One of our players did actually manage to make top 32. So congratulations to the big man Kevin James himself. And yeah, so obviously I'm going to walk you through here. So with this, if I do make any mistakes, like I know I made, looking back on it now, I made a ton of mistakes. When I did bring this to locals, though I did go 2-2 with the deck. But I did make quite a bit of misplays and mistakes that I'm going to be rectifying when I bring it to locals this weekend. So, with that being said, there are 3 cards that are your 1-card starters. You have your first movement solo. Let me just actually zoom in on this. Then you have your Refrain. And lastly, you have your Ostinato. Opening any form of these gets you full combo. So I'll walk you through each of them, starting off with first movement solo. So I'm going to leave that there so I can show you it. So I'm going to give this deck a nice good shuffle, and then we'll draw 4, and then we'll go from there. So give it 2 more. And there we go. So the opening hand is going to consist of first movement solo. We see Orange Light, we see Soprano, we see Droll, and then we see Refrain. Which, seeing Refrain in our opening hand alongside first movement solo isn't what we want to see. So I will actually put that back into the deck, and then see that we're going to open up with 2 Drolls. So actually what I'll do is I'll just do this. Imperm is better. Now I obviously would have left going into locals. Obviously I'm going to have to leave the Refrain in hand. So in that case, off of first movement solo, I would probably bait out a hand trap. And instead of specialing Refrain, I would have went for Sonata or something like that, you know, to bait out the an Ash or something like that. Which, even if my opponent does Ash, because I have Orange Light plus a Fairy, that will negate the Ash. So obviously we are going to start with the activation of first movement solo. Because we control no monsters, we can special summon a level 4 or lower Melodious monster from our hand or deck. And I cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn after I activate this card, except for Melodious, which is fine. So there's our Refrain. So that gets special summoned. That goes to the grave. And then Refrain's effect is going to trigger, adding us Couplet to hand. Now, normally if we had another card in graveyard, one of Couplet's effects would have triggered if this card is added to your hand, except for drawing it. For your normal draw, you can reveal this card and special summon 1 level 4 or lower Melodious monster from your hand or graveyard. So this is like an option that you can do, say, if you don't open a way to, you know, your first movement solo or your Refrain, and you use it, like say a Refrain for your fusion. But I'll cover all of that. But anyway, so from here we're obviously going to place Couplet into our pendulum scale, which we are then going to activate her effect, which is going to nab us the Concerto. And then from here, we're obviously going to activate the Concerto. We are going to fuse these 2 together, and we're going to make the Boccia, which then we're going to have 3 different chain links from here. You're going to want the Boccia as chain link 1 So that way only Imperm can really interact with that. So you're going to go Botcha Chainlink 1, and then your scales doesn't matter. So we'll go Refrain Chainlink 2, Couplet Chainlink 3. And so then they are now placed into the pendulum zone, and then off of Refrain, our Botcha, we are going to get out our Sonata. So from here, we are then going to activate Refrain's effect, targeting the Botcha to send a Melodious to graveyard, and again, until the end of the turn, Botcha gains 200 attack times its level. So in this case, we are going to send the Aria to grave. And then from here, we're going to activate Shapina's effect to target this in our graveyard and add it back into our hand. Now, from here, we are going to then link these two, and we are going to link into Bloom. Now, we're going to go Bloom as Chainlink 1 to discard the special summon. We'll go Botcha as Chainlink 2, and then Concerto as Chainlink 3, because Concerto and Botcha will do stuff. And so Concerto is going to place itself to the bottom of the deck, and then we're going to draw 1. Then Botcha is going to revive our Sonata, and then we're going to discard 2 special summons. So first of all, we'll of course resolve the Concerto by placing it to the bottom of the deck, and then our top deck is another Herald, which is good because, you know, again, we do have 2 fairies in our hand for this, but that's fine. So then we're going to, of course, bring Shapina back. From here, I am going to just discard the Droll. Obviously, in a real duel, I would probably discard Herald or maybe even Soprano, but it doesn't really matter because we are going to special summon here. We are going to go for the Sonata as the level 3 because it had to be 2 different levels when special summoning from Bloom. And then we are, of course, going to go for the Shapino or the Soprano. I always get those 2 mixed up since they're all the names sound so similar, and I'm dyslexic, so, you know, that is my excuse. So then from here, we are going to activate the Sonata effect. We're going to take herself plus the Sonata, and we're going to fusion summon into our Shaberta, and we're going to place her in defense. When it comes to the fusions, or just our Melodious in general, we do want them to be placed in defense. So then we're going to activate Sonata's Shapina's effect because it's not a hard once per turn. We're going to target, even though we do have 1 in hand, we could target any of these to add to our hand. Because we already have 1 in hand, it's not going to matter, so we'll just go for the Sonata here. Normally, if I don't have an extra in hand, obviously I want to add her, because then we are going to perform a pendulum summon, and that is we will pendulum summon for 3. So we'll go you, and we'll go you. So we have performed our pendulum Shokan. And then we are going to activate her effect to fuse once again. So we're going to fuse these 3 into a Twal. And then there's our Twal. And so then, of course, since this is going first, we'll set the Imperm. So that's that. That is our full combo, 1 card combo off of first movement solo. So we still have 2 heralds in hand, which is fine because we can say if we do have to, we can activate Herald, discard a Herald because it says one other fairy monster. It doesn't say that I can't use both. So that's 1 interruption. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. Plus with Aria on field, since she was special summoned through pendulum summoning. Melodious monsters you control cannot be targeted by card effects or be destroyed by battle, which is why we place them in defense. Obviously, we'll still take some damage when they attack Bloom, which is inevitable. But then, of course, a Twal, we can say we'll banish her plus the 2 pen scales if needed to bounce cards back, and then obviously we'll get them back. And then Shuberta can banish from graveyard. So that is test hand number 1. Okay, so the next test hand we're going to do is if we just have Refrain in our hand, which is basically the exact same steps that we just performed, except without first movement solo. So let's see what we end up with as our 4 extra cards. So we have Elegy, we have Imperm, we have Orange Light, and we have Orange Light. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's perfectly fine. Because again, opening up Refrain is our 1-card combo. And so yeah, that's what we'll do. So we'll again normal summon the Refrain effect to add the couplet, which would have been our next draw. Then we're going to place the couplet into our pendulum zone. Her effect is going to trigger, allowing us to add the concerto to hand. Then I'm going to shuffle here, which we will then immediately activate to fusion into the bocce. Then chainlink 1 bocce, chainlink 2, and chainlink 3 Refrain and couplet. So they go back into the pendulum zone, and then we grab our Shipina. Where are you? There you are. So pendulum her into defense. Then we're going to Refrain, target the bocce to dump to grave our Aria, which then Shipina is going to add back into our hand. And then, of course, from here, we're going to link into Bloom, then chainlink 1 Bloom, chainlink 2 bocce, chainlink 3 concerto. So the concerto is going to go to the bottom of the deck, and then we're going to draw, which is Droll, which at this, then of course we're going to get Shipina back. And then from here, because I have 2 heralds, I probably by time I finish this combo, I probably won't have any other fairy in hand. So then I'll probably just again go for the Droll, because again, this is test hands. Whereas in an actual duel, I might keep the Droll in hand, or I might not. It just depends, because, Herald is not a hard once per turn. So then we are, of course, going to bring out you plus you. And then immediately we're going to activate her effect, Diffusion Summon into the Shuberta in defense. Then we'll activate her effect to add her back into hand. And then we will Pendulum for 3. And then we will activate to fusion. And now I have 2 options for my fusion. I can either go Ostinato, Shipina, and Bloom as our fusion materials, or I could go and use Elegy. But because of Elegy's effect, I will use the link to make Etoile, which now means we actually have somewhat of a stronger board. So what do I mean by that? Well, we still have the Shuberta, the Etoile, and the Aria, which means we have the banishing, we have the bounce, we have the banish, we do have Herald's effect, so that's 3 interruptions. We have the Imperm, that's 4 interruptions. The Aria protects us from battle, from being targeted for card effects and being destroyed by battle, but Elegy here, let me just zoom in so you can actually read her effect. Special summon Melodious monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. If this card was special summoned, all fairy monsters you control gain 300 attack. So that's why I opted to keep her, because of the extra bonus of they cannot be destroyed by card effects. So whilst Aria protects us from cannot be targeted by card effects, they could still, still be destroyed by something that is non-targeting removal, whereas Elegy protects us from that. So we're still ending on a pretty strong board. So it's now time for the last test hand, and that is with opening Ostinato. Okay, so this is going to be the final test hand where I go through the combo tutorial, one card combos this time with Ostinato. So let's see what our full hand is going to be when I go to draw the extra 4. So we have Imperm plus Ash plus Veiler plus Sonata. Beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely fucking beautiful. Opening 3 hand traps, a spare card, and full combo with Ostinato. Or Ostinato. So, yeah. So, obviously, first of all, we are going to activate Ostinato, and we are going to use Refrain as one of our fusion targets, which we do have to do. And then we'll, of course, use Soprano to make Bacca, or Baccia, which however the fuck you're supposed to pronounce it. Then her effect is going to trigger, allowing us to get her on field. And then, of course, we're going to activate her effect to add Refrain back into our hand, which we're then immediately going to normal summon Refrain. And you're going to start to see a similar pattern here. Refrain will add Couplet, and then we are going to do something slightly different. So now that the Couplet has been added into our hand, we are immediately going to activate her effect. Since she was added to our hand, except for drawing it, for our normal draw, by revealing it, we can special summon a level 4 or lower Melodious monster from our hand or graveyard. And luckily, we do have our Soprano engraved, so we'll special summon her. Then we're going to immediately place Couplet into the pendulum scale, activate Couplet's effect to nab us the concerto, and then we are going to activate the concerto to fuse, this time into the Schuberta. And then, of course, we do get our scales. So from here, then, of course, we're going to go back to our normal plays of linking these two into Bloom, the 3 different chain links. So we'll add Concerto to the bottom of the deck. We're going to draw a Refrain, which we're immediately going to discard after our Shapina has been specialed. And I just realized my mistake for placing Bloom there. We're actually going to have to place Bloom here, because again, I'm so used to doing that. So Bloom will have to go to the zone that we can legally activate her effect. I'm pretty sure maybe 1 or 2 of you have already caught that, because again, I actually lost a game because of my zone placements prevented me from actually using Bloom's effect, because no matter which way it would have worked, it just couldn't. So now we are going to go for, again, something different. So we are going to, because again, different levels. So Aria is level 4 and Elegy is level 5. So we're going to special summon these 2. And then we're going to activate her effect to fusion herself, plus Bloom, plus Shapina, to make our Etoile. And there we go. We still have 3 hand traps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interruptions, plus our protection and a basically dead card that we probably were going to discard for Bloom's effect, except we drew another Refrain. So that's what we did. So there you guys go. Now there are obviously, times where you're not going to open up any of your 1-card combos, and that can happen. And in that case, what I would suggest you do is, if you can, if you say open up a normal summon plus your Sonata, you can normal summon, do your normal summon, special summon, and then link for Bloom, and then end on it won't be as optimal of a board, but it will still be, something that you can do. So yeah, I hope you were able to follow along and understand the combos, because again, it took me quite a while of practice to learn these combos, and I'm still learning. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and of course I'll catch you again next Friday for once again another brand new episode of the Local Chronicles, where I will be bringing this deck to locals. I'll catch you all on the very next upload.